What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 15th episode of the Lob It Up Podcast with your hosts, Tobias, Chris, and Siavash. Boys, how are we? I just saw you a couple days ago, but how have we been over this past long weekend, this May 2-4 weekend?
Been pretty good. We got some good weather. Managed to hit the links yesterday. As you can,
Nice.
wasn't a bad game. I'm still here. Haven't killed myself. That's the way golf is. But yeah, been loving this weather.
Nice, man. Tobias is saying he just saw us a couple days ago, and if anybody listening noticed that we said episode 15, and the last time we talked to you was episode 13, it's because we recorded a few days ago on Friday after the game, the Warriors and the Grizzlies game, and we recorded the whole episode. We gave our playoffs predictions, and unfortunately, there were issues with the audio, specifically my audio, and we're still trying to edit it out, put it out. We're gonna have a graphic out for the playoff predictions, but it was tough, man. I spoke to you guys about it. I was hurt as I was listening back to it. Really good conversations, really good discussions. Chris had a really good question at the start. So it hurt me that happened, but we're gonna come back. We're gonna come through it and rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
For sure, yeah, super good episode. So I'll be excited for whenever everyone gets to hear that. But not to say that this episode isn't going to be good. This is the Lob It Up Podcast official awards ceremony. We're going to be taking a look at obviously all the regular season awards: MVP, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, but also some of our own special awards that we want to dedicate to some players, to some teams this year. But of course, before we get into Chris's favorite meat and potatoes of the segment, we're going to go with Chris's trivia, or do we have a question again today?
We're gonna go with some trivia today, but actually,
Okay.
I do have a question for you.
Oh.
I'm looking to buy some potatoes. Where can I?
TikTok live streams are usually your
TikTok,
best
TikTok questions
option.
right there, people. All right. Okay. I'll give you guys three questions. I'll start off with something easy. And actually, all of these questions that I found and I'm looking at, they've actually given me the percentage for how many people have actually ever guessed the correct answer.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm going to start off kind of high, but I still feel like it's really high for you guys. All right, so this one coming in, only 26% of people have gotten this right. Um, what player has the highest career three-point field goal percentage?
Oh, you have a whiteboard?
Not on me, but
Okay.
I will. You write down your answer, then I will
Yeah,
read it
I was just
or
gonna
like
say.
say mine out loud. What's the field goal percentage? You said
Do you have the
Yeah,
percentage?
what player has
the
the highest
highest
field goal percentage?
when they have a three-point field goal percentage of .454.
This is the player that has the highest.
Yes.
I
There's
mean, like I want to say the obvious answer, but I feel like that's not it for some reason. I'm gonna say Steph Curry.
I will say this man is still in the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Steph Curry.
I went with Bulls legend Kyle Korver.
Good guess.
Three. Actually, according to here, it is saying it is actually Mr. Steve Kerr.
Damn.
Oh,
What?
Yeah,
okay.
You said
right. You
he's in
don't
the
think
league.
about that. He's a coach. He's in the league.
Oh man, that's a terrible
Got
answer.
you on a got you on a technicality there.
Yeah,
Should have read the fine print. Clearly, viewers, he didn't listen because I gave the answer
No, you
in my
didn't.
I knew you were gonna say that too. I was like, I'm waiting for him to
Stop
fucking
saying
do this.
that.
All right. Next one here. Who is the first player to be drafted number one without playing college or high school basketball in the USA?
Fuck.
Or high school.
Or high school?
Wait, yeah, he didn't play high school?
No high school.
Oh my god.
The obvious answer. It's very, very obvious.
I actually think I'm gonna say Kobe Bryant.
I don't like this.
Hmm? Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. Okay, I'm gonna say the question again one more time. One more time for you.
Yeah,
guys.
no, I don't think it's Kobe, bro.
Maybe,
Oh no, he played at Lower Merion. Yeah, he played at Lower Merion.
maybe change your answer. Who is the first
College or high school?
to be drafted number 1?
Oh yeah, he wasn't even drafted number 1.
College or high school basketball in the USA?
No.
For a hint, this player was on our. I don't know if any of us drafted him, but he would have been on the list for players when we're doing our all-time drafts by position.
I don't know, bro. I see. I had an answer written down, but you said we didn't draft him, so I gotta wipe him out.
I don't think any of us did. None of us did.
Give me just a quick. No, it's before 2000s, right?
Nope,
It's not.
it's 2000s, and that's my last hint to you guys. Is 2000s. Do you want? Actually, no. If I give you the exact year, you'll know.
No, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with
Yeah,
it.
you'll know.
Dude, I've got no fucking idea.
Okay, so what's your answer?
I'm trying to think of one still. I'm running the draft. I don't know. I'm gonna say somebody that's jokes. Andrea Bargnani.
Raptors legend. I'm not sure about that, but I'm gonna go with one guy named Dwight Howard.
Did Dwight Howard not play high school ball?
I don't know, man. I'm just throwing shit at
He
the
did,
wall.
yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Well, you were both wrong.
Yeah, I knew that.
The correct answer, and you guys are honestly gonna hate yourselves for this, was actually Yao Ming.
Oh, I just realized
Right?
what the question meant. He didn't play
like,
high school
that's why I said like they
In USA.
in the US.
That's why I said
As
Andrea
a foreign
Bargnani.
player. Yes.
I was always thinking Europe. I was thinking Canadian, to be honest with you. But then I was
Yeah.
like, fuck. In the 2000s, I was like, Andrea.
And then when this guy said like Kobe Bryant, I was like, what?
I didn't understand the question. That's on me.
That's okay.
There's a bunch of little like intricacies in there for sure.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. All right, and this last, actually, man, if you guys didn't get that one, you guys 1,000% will not get this last
Just give
one.
me the question, man. I'll get it. I don't care.
Okay. What player attempted the most 3-pointers in his career without ever making one? This player went 0 for 25.
Shaq made one. Yao made one.
I don't think it means like their career as a whole. It just means like, I think a game. So in this one game, this player took 25 3-point attempts, made none of them.
That's brutal.
I
In a
know.
single game?
Yeah.
You gotta give me a hint, my brother. That is next level tough.
He shares a name with a goat. Him and the goat have the same, or a goat.
The goat. You said the, right?
Shut
So,
the fuck up.
thank you. Thank you. Because I don't know of any other people
share
named
the same
LeBron.
first name. They share the same first name.
Michael. Nice.
So that's Michael, in case we're
Yeah,
confused there.
Michael.
Michael?
Yeah.
Gilchrist. Yeah, for our listeners, we apologize for the silences. We're trying to figure out what the answer is. So if you're listening and not watching, we're just sitting around scratching our heads because these questions are just level 5.
Like this, yeah. This question, the
Okay, I got my answer.
percentage was 0.7% for this one.
I got my answer.
All right.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna write down the name of somebody that I'm not sure if anybody knows, but all right, I have an answer. Go ahead, Tobias.
Michael Red.
Oh, you bitch! I got the same answer.
Michael Red. Okay.
That's the
What
only
was
person
that?
I could think of. I'm like, he shoots, but like,
Yeah.
maybe you just had a bad game.
Bucks
Like,
legend.
It
yeah.
was actually Michael Cage.
I've never heard
That's
of
Nicolas
that name.
Cage's brother?
I don't know. I've never heard of this player either.
Yeah, me neither.
Google him, like after to be like, who is this guy? Like, were you
What
just
era
like
did he play?
a one and done guy? I'm looking here right now. I'm just going back to the page.
Yeah, those were definitely tough ones. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he played for looks like the Seattle Sonics. He's the current analyst for the Oklahoma City Thunder, a 6'9" power forward from San Diego State.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, he was NBA draft 1984.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine taking 25 threes.
But yeah, imagine. That's crazy.
Okay, so with those insanely difficult questions out of the way, let's move on to something that we actually know and actually have an opinion on. The award races, the nominees have been announced for each of those, main awards in the NBA. But as we mentioned, we're going to give our Lob It Up award nominees, our award winners here. I know at the start of the year we kind of did our award predictions. I think there is going to be some consistency. You do see some of those nominees that we also mentioned. So without further ado, do we want to start from the back or from the front? Do we want to start with Coach of the Year or do we want to start with MVP?
This is a really weird year. There is just, you would think that the Coach of the Year would be an easier option than the MVP, but this year I think it's kind of obvious, but I think we should get started probably with something smaller. Let's actually get started with something other than Coach of the Year, Sixth Man or Most Improved.
Okay. Yeah, let's go with Most Improved. Most Improved Rookie of the Year, or Player of the Year. Is that right? 2 awards there at once.
2 awards.
Okay, I'll get started. Before I get started,
Okay.
I do want to give Chris some credit in this, and probably for our next award. He brought a name to the board last time we recorded this for the predictions by somebody by the name of Chris Boucher. At the time, I laughed him out the room. I told him, hey, bro, don't ever say that name to me. That guy's not going to do anything. But I have to apologize to Chris because...
Thank you.
Well, let me get my apologies off and then say thank you.
No, man, you honestly, you don't even have to go super heartfelt. Even
It's
that,
not heartfelt.
You see, that was enough.
It's not heartfelt. I'm just trying to give you why. Chris Boucher
Okay.
has been playing great, and his minutes have gone up, and his production has gone up. And I think we got to mention that before we go on. But
Thank you.
for my pick, I will be going with Julius Randle. Now, at the start of the year, I went with Zach LaVine. I think we were, 10 games in the season. At the time, I had high hopes for him. I still do. I think he's a top 5 nominee for Most Improved Player of the Year. But I think Julius Randle, what he's done for that team, he's very deserving of that award.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I actually am also going to be choosing Julius Randle. I'm just trying to pull up what we had said initially, because I know you had mentioned that you said Zach LaVine. Initially, I had said Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
Jaylen Brown had a good season, not to take it away, but when you look at the impact that Julius Randle had for the New York Knicks, and just in statistics, like he had a great season, coming initially drafted by the Lakers, played for the New Orleans Pelicans, found a home here in New York with Tom Thibodeau and a great system. I think that works very well with him. Pretty sure at the end of the season, or near the end of the season, he was leading the league in minutes played.
Yeah, that's very
That's
impressive.
disgusting.
That's very
Yeah.
Disgusting.
And the fact that team is a 4th seed is really impressive. But sorry, Chris,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Right? For my pick, I went with Mr. Michael Porter Jr.
Good pick.
Thank you. Michael Porter Jr., obviously, after you had Jamal Murray's injury, this man, he has stepped up. He is becoming a clear number 2 option there for those Denver Nuggets. As good as our milk bag boy Jokic is, he does need some options. In his 2nd season right now, he's obviously upped all of his career stats, and he's just been playing phenomenal for those Nuggets there. So, but I think it'll be tough because, like you said, Julius Randle been doing crazy things for the Knicks too. So, and I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
and Go ahead, sorry, Chris.
Oh, I was gonna say, and I'm surprised nobody talked about Jeremy Grant either.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also high up there too for this award. So
Yeah, he was in the finalists. Oh, sorry. Actually, I took Jeremy Grant at the start of the season. Chris, you took Jaylen Brown. My apologies. I was looking at the end. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the finalists for this award, you do have the two guys we mentioned, Michael Porter Jr. as well as Julius Randle. But Jeremy Grant is also there. I think. What, and I don't want to say harms, but I think what kind of puts Jeremy Grant behind these other two is that he is singularly the only option in Detroit. When you look around the Detroit Pistons organization, there's no one else that they're going to.
yeah,
With Julius Randle, there are a couple other options there. I would say, still is a number one option. You could look at RJ Barrett, but I think Julius Randle is your guy. And then obviously in Denver, Jokic is the first option, but Michael Porter Jr., as you mentioned, stepped up. So I think that's kind of what harms Jeremy Grant in the eyes of some voters, is that, well, yeah, of course he's going to be most improved. He went from playing in a system of the Denver Nuggets, being behind Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, and now he's the number one option there. But great player, and had a great year for sure.
Yeah, the whole notion of empty calories when it comes to scoring with those players. At the same time, look, man, Jeremy Grant is still very talented, so hopefully they can build around him. Even though they had somebody like Christian Wood last year,
For sure.
I'm not sure where they're gonna go with that, but hopefully they can build around that guy because there's a lot of good talents on that team. Sadiq Bey, Kelly Hayes, and our guy Jeremy Grant. I almost forgot his.
All right, do we want to jump over to Sixth Man of the Year award?
Yeah,
six man.
I'll let you guys start.
Chris, I'll let you start. Yeah, Chris, I'll let you start this time. Go ahead with your
Okay.
Sixth Man of the Year award pick. I will just say, at the start of the year, when we did our predictions, Chris, you also took Chris Boucher.
I did. Obviously, the Raptors not finishing as well as they finished. That hurts like a player's stock for any of these things. But the player I ended up going with was also like another player I've loved to watch. He's been having like a phenomenal year. I am going with Mr. Derrick Rose. So, yeah, Derrick Rose been playing great. His shooting percentage, at least for like threes, has gone up for like the Knicks, which is nice. So, and obviously he's been like a big help with them probably pushing and securing that fourth seed spot there. But yeah, there
Cool.
people.
For me, at the start of the year, when we did our predictions, I took Jordan Clarkson. It was kind of maybe a couple weeks, I guess, into the season, and I saw how great the Utah Jazz were playing. If you look at my picks from the post initially in January, February, whenever we started, whenever we did that episode, I had a lot of Utah Jazz influence. I was really, surprised at what they were doing, how well they were doing. And I mentioned another former Laker, as I mentioned Julius Randle. I mentioned Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson continued to be a beast for the Utah Jazz, providing a secondary scoring option for them off the bench. And he's also one of the three finalists as well, with Derrick Rose, Jordan Clarkson, and another Utah Jazz, Joe Ingles. But Jordan Clarkson, they definitely relied on him to provide that second option off the bench. And especially with Donovan Mitchell out for the last bit of the season in the first game of the playoffs, I think he has a greater impact now.
I will be taking the other counterpart on the Utah Jazz. I'm going with Joe Ingles. I think Jordan Clarkson had a great start, but I think over time he slowed down. And that six-man role to come off the bench, kind of create and get his own bucket, that went on to become Joe Ingles' position. I think Joe Ingles did start for the majority of his time on the Utah Jazz, but now with Royce O'Neal playing that three spot, Joe Ingles has been coming off the bench, which seems like it's been working for them. And he's a great creator and really underrated passer. I don't think anybody really looks at him as that guy. that is a good passer on that team. So he's good at creating, maybe it's that Australian gene with Ben Simmons, Joe Ingles, good passes on there.
That's it. See, that's it.
What?
That's why we're seeing so many ads for hair loss. He's Australian. I get it now. I understand.
For our
This
listeners,
is the main sponsor for Joe Ingles.
for our listeners, we were watching a stream of the basketball game, and it was an Australian stream, and there was many, many, many ads for hair loss, and we were wondering if there's a pandemic over there with the hair loss situation, but that is left for them
Legally,
to
you're watching the stream legally.
I never said illegally, so thank you for snitching.
Yeah.
This guy's the feds.
Oh my god.
You see how he tried to throw me under the bus? I never said it was illegal.
Okay, with those two, I don't want to say lighter, but those two lesser than awards out of the way, let's move on to an award where we've seen some repeat offenders. We've seen, going back to Siavash's hate for the French squad. We've seen some French influence. We've seen a lot of actually international influence in the nominees for this. Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year award. The nominees right now are Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, and Rudy Gobert. Now, at the start of the season, when we did our predictions, Siavash, you and I both took Rudy Gobert, and Chris took another European. He took Giannis Antetokounmpo. Siavash, who are you going with for Defensive Player of the Year?
I will be going with Ben Simmons at the start of the year.
Bro.
What's going on?
No, we're in sync right now, to be honest with you. But go ahead.
I like that. Yeah, I think he's really shown out this year for them to be the number one seed. You look at that team, there's not a lot of great defenders. Of course, Joel Embiid is the main defender at the center position, but Ben Simmons took on what do you call it? He took on the position. He took on a challenge of guarding the best offensive player on the other team every game. I saw this guy shut down Dame Lillard multiple games. I saw this guy just take on anybody who came up on the court, and he will guard guards. He will guard small forwards. At times, he even switch on centers because he's a big guy. He can handle his own. I have to go with him.
6'11"?
He is 6'9", I think.
No, I don't know, somewhere around there.
He's above 6'8". That's all I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna finish it off by saying I think Rudy Gobert is great, but I would like to have somebody that can guard every position.
Boom. Right there. And to be honest with you, I would have stuck with Rudy Gobert, except Ben Simmons even kind of tooting his own horn in an interview when talking about the Defensive Player of the Year award. He said, yeah, like, Rudy's great. He's won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards already. He's like, but I can guard all 5 positions. Bro, if Steph pulls Rudy Gobert out to the 3, Rudy's getting embarrassed,
You've seen
bro.
that.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting twisted around and embarrassed. He's the Tasmanian devil digging himself a hole in the basketball court. Ben Simmons can actually stick with these players like a crafty Damian Lillard, but then also switch on to somebody like a Nikola Jokic in the paint. So I think when you look at Defensive Player of the Year award, it's not only just, controlling the paint and controlling the defensive end of your of the court for your team, but it's literally being able to guard 1 through 5 every single player, offensive or not, on the team, and Ben Simmons just does that.
100%. And I guess we're all in sync here because I have also selected the Australian man who may have hair issues in the future. But yeah, just again touching on what you guys said, like just watching this guy play all season, it's just been amazing. And you want that player that is willing to step up and like, yeah, don't worry, LeBron, I got him. Lillard, don't worry, I got him. Booker, boom, don't worry, I got him. And you're gonna have that faith and that confidence in that player. Like, yeah, you know what? Ben's gonna be able to guard this player and like shut this player down, or at least contain them to however many points so they aren't as big as a threat. And that's what like I love about Ben Simmons' game this year. So yeah, Ben Simmons for me.
Mm-hmm. And we should mention Draymond Green is a great candidate, and he's definitely one of the most underrated players in the league. But because of the team's position, I think that's going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah,
For sure. Okay, now moving on to an award that, there's a bit of controversy there. A guy we took the whole way through. We all picked the same guy. He's got that flavor in the family. He's got that Ball mentality. LeVar Ball being his dad. The Rookie of the Year, I've heard a lot of arguments. One leaning towards Anthony Edwards, one leaning towards LaMelo Ball, obviously, and then the third nominee is Tyrese Halliburton. Chris, do you want to give us maybe your thoughts and who you are going to take for Rookie of the Year? Is it still LaMelo Ball, or have you switched up?
I think mine is still LaMelo Ball. When looking at this, I was caught up between Anthony Edwards and obviously LaMelo Ball. But I feel like just like the Warriors not making the playoffs is going to hurt Draymond's stock, I feel like the Minnesota Timberwolves not making the playoffs or performing as well as they could will also hurt his stock. Whereas you had LaMelo Ball carry the Charlotte Hornets basically to a play-in spot. Yes, they did not win, but he helped them get to that position. So I think I'm going to stick with LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, I'm also going to rock with LaMelo Ball still. We haven't mentioned it in a couple episodes, but in a conversation on Clubhouse, we were talking about this. We were talking about the two comparables there. And one thing I brought up, and one thing I was rebuttaling with another person, was the argument was that when LaMelo got injured, when he was off, Charlotte kind of dipped down a bit, and that's when you saw Minnesota start to rise up, especially Anthony Edwards. But what I explained to people was you also saw that because D'Angelo Russell was not playing because he was injured. So because Anthony Edwards got more time, then he was able to show out. But LaMelo Ball earned that time from the jump. He was that guy. He became that dominant force for the Charlotte Hornets. And then when he came back from injury, he picked it up right away. Now, the only thing that some people are kind of hesitant about is a certain amount of games played. I know we're in a shortened season this year, 72 games, but they want to make sure that you're playing above 50% of the games. I'm not sure. I think he ended up playing 41 games, so that is above the 50% line. So my vote's
51.
Still on the LaMelo Ball. Sorry?
It looks like he played 51 games.
So there you go. Yeah. Now, Steve Ash, before I toss it over to you, I do want to just give some credit to Tyrese Halliburton as well. Yeah. This guy, I believed during the draft, when it's all said and done at the end of these guys' careers, I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to be the second best player out of that draft. And it took him a bit to get started. Yeah, it took him a bit to get started, but when he started getting going, he was nice. He was nice for Sacramento. I think he's going to be a big force for them in the future.
Before I go on to say my pick, I do agree. I have high hopes for Tyrese. I do think that's really rough to say he's going to be the second best player by the end of these guys' careers. I think he's great. I think he's a star. At the same time, I think, yeah, sure. Let's give the credit to LaMelo and Anthony Edwards. My pick is going to be Anthony Edwards. And my argument for that is solely around the fact that LaMelo did miss games. And when he was back, he wasn't back to 100%. And that doesn't take away from his career. That doesn't take away from his value. But Joel Embiid missed out on his Rookie of the Year award because he didn't play the full season. Now, his situation was way worse. He had way less games. But he was phenomenal when he played. But it's also about the games, Anthony Edwards, you bring up the fact that he started turning up around halfway through the season. I don't think everybody gets to figure out their role on the team the first thing on the season. I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves' focus was Anthony Edwards. On the other hand, I do think the Hornets' focus was on LaMelo Ball. I don't think anybody looked at that team and said, oh, playoff luck. But when they put the focus on that guy and let him create for that team, they were able to start winning properly. For me, Anthony Edwards has put out 40-point games. He's been exciting. He's been exciting off the court. That's my pick for Rookie of the Year.
How much do you put stock in when evaluating an award like Rookie of the Year, because it's not an award like MVP or even Defensive Player of the Year? How much stock do you put in when it comes to Rookie of the Year award and their standings, the team's standings?
I think it is important, but I don't take it as the focus. Like we talked about the MVP a few weeks ago. I don't go by, okay, who's the first seed and let's see who's the best player. That's the MVP. I go off how well is this guy performing. Okay, let's look at the next guy. Now, if they're performing the same and the next guy is 4 or 5 seed and the other guy is the 8 seed, I'm going to give it to the 4 or 5 seed because the stats is comparable, but the guy is also winning. So winning is important. At the same time, I don't think it's Anthony Edwards' fault that team's not winning, because once they put the focus onto him, they started winning. They've been going on a nice winning. Yeah. They've been winning a lot of games recently because he's been the focus. He's been the main guy.
How tough was their schedule though? Like after that, were they playing like and winning against like top tier teams, or were they winning against other teams that were lower like seeded?
I do not remember. I would have to look into that.
Okay.
That is not. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That could be the case, but at the same time, man, that team just looked horrible for most of the season. And now this,
because you do look on paper too, and you think that they should, like Minnesota should be able to compete, bro. Yeah, like you've got D'Angelo Russell and Cat right there alone. You know, you should be able to be like, okay, we can push for something, and then you add in, a potential Rookie of the Year candidate in Anthony Edwards. You add in a couple defensive guys in Culver, and there's another wing I'm forgetting about, but. Beasley's good. That's not who I'm thinking about. But yeah, like you have these other role players as well that, maybe not saying that you need to be competing for a 4th and 5th seed like the Knicks or like the Hawks, but being around the play-in tournament would be nice. But they need another year to figure it out. We can get into a whole other conversation about trade talks and whatnot, but I think they're very close to maybe moving a big piece away from there.
Before we go ahead, I do want to say I think D'Angelo Russell, he's a bigger name on paper than what he's bringing on the court.
Fair enough.
I don't think he's shown out these past few years. He had a great season in Brooklyn. He had a decent season last year, but this year he just hasn't been the same. I don't know what it is. I haven't been watching the games, but I think we got to stop saying that name as a all-star right now, because he's not an all-star right now.
Fair. Okay, so we have 2 more of the official NBA awards left. We will take on the Coach of the Year award. So at the start of the season, whenever we did our episode, our predictions were as follows. I said Quinn Snyder. Steve Ash, you also said Quinn Snyder. And Chris, you said Doc Rivers. Now, if we look at the NBA Finals candidates, we've got Quinn Snyder, Tom Thibodeau of the New York Knicks, and Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. Who wants to start off?
How about you, Tobias? You start off.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so Quinn Snyder, as I mentioned, earlier on, he's a guy that's been within the Utah Jazz organization for a while. They've always been a playoff contender, a playoff team, but you really saw it from the jump this year. How well he was coaching them, how well he was, integrating not only a third year Donovan Mitchell, who's still kind of trying to find his own groove. He's definitely an all-star player, but also working to make sure that chemistry between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert was still intact. That was a big, question mark for a lot of people coming in to this season. Is Rudy Gobert going to be traded because of what happened, with the start of COVID? For people that forget, before anything was really a big deal with COVID, Rudy Gobert's like coughing and touching all the mics and whatnot, and that really kind of irritated some of the Utah Jazz players as well as Donovan Mitchell. But they did mention that they worked through a lot of that in the bubble. I always take stuff like that, reports like that, with a grain of salt, because they could just be putting on a mask for the media. But as a manager, to be able to oversee, control, and find a way to utilize every single player on that team, I think Quinn Snyder did a great job. I was watching the game the other night when they're playing against Memphis, and I forget who he was talking to. But it was just like something was going on, something crazy was going on during the play, and he literally pulled the player away from the whole huddle, and he's like, I'm just gonna have a conversation with you one-on-one, like this is what I need from you, like this is what we have to do, to win the game. Unfortunately they didn't do that, but I just really like the coaching style that he comes with. Not to say that the other two aren't deserving, but I think Quinn Snyder to claim that first seed in the West basically all year in a tough Western Conference, that's pretty impressive.
Chris?
I will be going with Monty Williams. Again, we saw him and the Phoenix Suns last year kind of show out in the bubble, going 8-0, but unfortunately, still couldn't earn that playoff spot. But I think they used that though, kept that fire going, that momentum, and carried that throughout like this entire season. At no point, if you ask me, how are the Phoenix Suns gonna do, would I ever have told you, oh yeah, they're gonna be first in the league. And I think that is hugely attributed to his coaching, his style of coaching, and just working like just so well with like those players in that squad just to get them into that first place position. So
I agree. I think Monty Williams has done a great job. 2 years ago, he started with the Suns, and now to look at them being in the second seed in the West is very impressive. Also giving credit to some of the players they have brought in. But are we going with Tom Thibodeau? We got all three.
Former Bulls coach.
Yes, sir. We got three different picks. I'm going with Tom Thibodeau because when I look at that Knicks team, I do not see a lot of differences from last year. They brought in Tom Thibodeau, and he was able to utilize some of the pieces. A lot of the players talk about how well he coaches, how hard he's on them, how he focuses on very specific things on defense, and how he pushes them to be great individually. I'm going with Tom Thibodeau. That team last year, they were at the bottom of the league. This year, nobody had them in the playoffs. For them to be the fourth seed, I think it's phenomenal, and I think Tom Thibodeau deserves all that credit.
For sure, yeah, I'll totally give that credit to Tom Thibodeau. You bring a good point of them being at the bottom of the league last year. Respectfully, I'm going to say that Tom Thibodeau deserves a look over Monty Williams. And maybe it's just me being a CP3 homer, I think a lot of that credit for them to be where they are goes to CP3. I think you said Steve Ashley was his third season, Monty Williams, with the Phoenix Suns. So there is consistency with him. He's been there. What is the thing that's changed from last season? Chris Paul coming in. So I give a lot, not to say that Monty Williams, doesn't deserve a look, but I think a lot of it should be handed over to Chris Paul as well.
No, I think we should say that, yeah, I think it's the second season, I do want to say. And, okay. Yeah, I mean, look, man, the only reason I do agree with Chris on that is because that team 4 years ago, even 3 years ago before Monty Williams got there, everybody was like, man, this team is not going anywhere. Get D-Book out of there. So I agree Chris Paul brings a lot of value, but I think Monty's coaching needs some respect for sure.
Yeah, because you can have the best players on the squad. On paper, you could have the best players, but if your coach can't do it and can't control your players, your locker room, all that stuff, and get your players to perform, you might be seeing some early exits, like a certain LA team.
Oh, yes.
Because it's
the
like
Lakers.
Doc Rivers, great coach, but your whole team was dismantled by a milkman and some floaters.
You know what the thing is, though, that I think everyone forgets, and I, to be honest, forgot the other day until I was watching the game? The Utah Jazz were also up last year when they played against the Denver Nuggets 3-1.
They were?
So a lot of people forget about that. Denver just has that, especially last year. I think this year will be a bit different. They have lost a few key pieces, some to injury and some to just, players moving on, like Jeremy Grant. They had that tenacity and that, ability to just not give up and keep going. Even though you're down 3-1 in back-to-back series, they were able to come back. So, Yes, sir. Okay, so with those out of the way, let's get to the main event. The main event of the evening, the Most Valuable Player of the Year award. A lot of debate, through NBA analysts and insiders, what MVP actually means. So the nominees, as per the official NBA, are Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and Joel Embiid. And then at the start of the year, our predictions for MVP, I said Joel Embiid and then had a side recognition to LeBron James and Damian Lillard. Sivash, you also said Joel Embiid and had a side recognition to Nikola Jokic and LeBron James. And Chris, you're on your guy, LeBron James. So he is your guy.
He is.
But Sivash, started off. Who are you giving your Most Valuable Player of the Year award to this season?
Before I begin, the nominees were Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Stephen Curry. Gladly, CP3 is not in there because I would not have even looked at him. These are all great nominees. I think Steph will take a hit because of the position on the standings, and I think Joel Embiid will take a hit because of the injuries. If he took all that aside, I think Steph would have been MVP, but I'll have to give it to Nikola Jokic because of his play this year, and he's carried that team to the third seed, even though the Clippers tried to do some tank job to avoid the Lakers in the playoffs, so they avoided third seed. But still, the Nuggets deservingly got the third seed with Nikola Jokic leading that team. And I think he's deserving of them. He's had one of the best offensive seasons we've ever seen, even though a lot of analysts say, oh, it's just a weird season. A lot of numbers are just high. We can't really look at this as an actual season. It might be an outlier, but still, you got to give that man his credit. He's dangerous too. Like, if you watch any game of the past season, this guy is the guy on that team. He literally, everything goes around him. Get the ball on top of the key, do a post up, pass it to a cutting man, get it to a 3-pointer. It's just the offense just goes around him. So at the start of the season, I did mention his name. And we talked about this, I think, halfway through the season as well. I think he's deserving of that position.
Chris, my man, go ahead. Are you still rocking with LeBron James?
Yeah.
No, actually, I am actually going to be rocking with Steph Curry now. And to just kind of piggyback on your point, saying how their standings may take a hit, I feel like that actually may do kind of the opposite and maybe work in their favor because they got to where they were in the standings essentially because of Steph Curry. Like, if everything was basically like pure stats, points, blah, blah, all this stuff, realistically, yes, Steph should be higher because I think he finished with 31, 32, something points like that per game.
32.
Like, it's ridiculous, right? So he's going out every night, having to drop 40, having to drop 30, whatever, just to keep that Warriors team alive and push. And they made it to a play-in spot. Unfortunately, they didn't end up making the playoffs. But I think if that doesn't show the drive, the fight, the determination, the leadership of Steph Curry and that shadow of a former Warriors team, then honestly, man, I don't know what does. So I'm gonna go with Steph.
Yeah, this is an extremely difficult year, I feel like, to give out the MVP because a lot of things happened.
Yeah.
To give credit to Steph Curry, had they made the playoffs, even as an 8 seed, I would have said give him the MVP. But for me, seeding does play at least a bit of a piece. And you didn't make the playoffs. I know he was alone. He had some whatever you want to call them, role players. I do think Andrew Wiggins definitely kind of stepped up this year, played a lot better than he has in the past. But I can't give it to Steph Curry. Then it becomes so difficult between those two big men. I want to give it to Joel Embiid, and I just checked his stats real quick, and he also only played 51 games, similar to LaMelo Ball. And, he averaged 28.5. He was over 10 for rebounds. Didn't have a lot of assists, but that's not really his game. He usually, that's usually Ben's type. But Nikola Jokic did it all, and he had, similar in points, similar in rebounds, but he actually averaged 8-something assists.
Okay.
While Philly, stayed atop the Eastern Conference, the Leastern Conference, as I like to call it, for the whole season. I think I also got to ride with you, Steve Ash. I think Nikola Jokic deserves the MVP, man. I think he does everything on the court. He has a top 4 seed in a tough Western Conference, and he's a dominant player. Not to say that Joel Embiid isn't a dominant player or Steph Curry isn't a dominant player, but where Steph Curry does one thing that Embiid doesn't, where Embiid does one thing that Steph Curry doesn't, Nikola Jokic did it all. So I'm going to have to rock with Nikola Jokic for the MVP this year.
So can we stop calling him the milk bag? Because now he's an MVP.
Nope.
That beats your team.
That doesn't, MVP milk bag. Most
MVP
valuable milk bag.
Most exactly. Like, bro, all milk is not created equally. Okay?
That's okay. Hey,
Jokic.
I'm also a milk bag. So I mean, like, hey, if he can win an MVP, then maybe I can win an MVP. There's still time for me, bro.
Jokic is lactose-free milk, so everybody can enjoy.
This guy said if he can win an MVP, I can win an MVP. Get the fuck out.
But actually,
I got time. I didn't say of what. I didn't say of what.
Question though for you guys. Okay, so we were talking about MVP, all this stuff, and how like your team's placement, stuff like that, and that's always like a factor in giving out these awards and whatnot. Then I guess it's more so for UC with you picking Anthony Edwards for Rookie of the Year over LaMelo Ball, whose team had done better. Like why is it different for Anthony Edwards, for you anyways, to get that pick versus like Steph Curry, like to kind of shy away?
We had this discussion. Yeah, we had this discussion. I think halfway through the season, I brought it up to you guys that what position do you think an MVP has to be on to deserve it? Now, a lot of times, you look at the history; it's been the top 3 seeds in their respective conference, and I think the only exception was a 6 seed OKC with Russell Westbrook over 4 years ago.
Because he averaged a triple-double.
And he's been doing it every season. So that was, I think, and that was, I think, a lot of narratives and everything with it. With that said, I think we talked about it. I said, for me, an MVP has to be the top 4 seed. And if they are going to be below, they have to be very impressive to a point of Russell Westbrook, who was the first player to average triple-double since Oscar Robertson in the 1970s. So with that said, and I was going to bring this back to Tobias because he said something I almost forgot about. He said Steph wasn't in the 8th seed, but they were the 8th seed. They just lost 1 game, and they're out of the playoffs. How are we, I was just going to ask this, how are we going to judge that playing thing? Because Steph was the 8th seed. The Warriors were the 8th seed. But they lost a game.
So to also piggyback on your thing about players needing to do something impressive, nobody, like Steph won the scoring title this year, right? That's pretty impressive. But then again, also to my own point, he's basically was the only option on that team. You had Wiggins, but again, I'm gonna end it there. You had Wiggins.
Yeah.
Draymond's a scoring powerhouse either. So, but it's still a little impressive that you win a scoring title, and wasn't he the oldest person?
One of the oldest, I think.
No. One of. Mike won it 3 times over.
Okay. I don't know. I thought I saw something about him winning something over Mike. I just saw him and Mike's name as all men do, I surface Reddit.
I know what the graphic is that you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
There's 4 times people over the age of 33 or something like that have won the scoring title, and it's been Steph Curry at 33, Mike at 33, 34, and 35.
Gotcha. Okay.
We just I went off the whole point I was making, but yeah, I think with the MVP, the seeding matters because the most valuable player, I think, Rookie of the Year. If the Timberwolves were the 15th seed, it would have been different. But I think again, I blame it on the team for not utilizing that player. And if the Hornets made the playoffs, I might have actually given it to them. But they were the ninth seed, and they lost a game. Again, I don't know how we're going to judge this playing thing, because, again, the Warriors were the eighth seed, but they lost a game. I don't know how to judge that.
Yeah. So those are the official NBA awards. But now, as we mentioned, we have the Lob It Up Special Edition awards. Sivash, do you want to start it off and tell us what these special edition awards are?
Well, we're just, this is our first one. Hopefully this will be an annual thing moving forward. As we go on, we might introduce other ones. I have one in my mind right now, but I'm kind of going to try to find a better term for it. The first one we have in front of us is the most surprising team this year. This award is our personal opinion. We're going to go based off of what the expectations were for a team and if a team surprised you. Now, we can have different variables for that. We can have different measuring sticks for that. So I'm going to give it up to you guys. Tobias, I'm going to start it with you. What team surprised you the most this year?
I'll take one team from the East and I'll take one team from the West. One team from the East, you guys know I've talked about them a lot this year. They won me a decent amount of change. I'm going to go with the Charlotte Hornets. We just talked about the LaMelo Ball presence and how big of an impact he was for them. But seeing them, the Knicks, yes, have been a laughingstock in the NBA for a long time, but that's because of the high value that people have with the Knicks. They remember the Knicks of old, but the Charlotte Hornets, since they've been around, have been the laughing stock of the NBA, right? Dude, people were excited to watch Charlotte Hornets games this year, and it was because of LaMelo Ball, but there was a few other players there that also had that impact going back to last year with Devontae Graham. That was also nice. Scary Terry is a nice familiar face. I know, Sivash, you're a big fan of Scary Terry. But they are probably one of the most surprising teams because they were competitive. For a while, they were leading their division. Eventually, LaMelo did get injured and they started to fall down a bit. So that's my pick out of the East. And my pick out of the West, I don't want to say it's a surprise, but it is. It's just I shouldn't be surprised at this point because who they have at the helm. But the San Antonio Spurs, consistently they find a way to be competitive in a tough Western Conference. In a tough Western Conference. I remember the San Antonio Spurs, I think midway through the season or a third away through the season, they were a top 4 seed in the West, and they're competitive, and it's not like they have any names that pop out at you. Yes, they have an aging DeMar DeRozan, but he's not a guy that you're looking for to produce for you. So San Antonio is my team out of the West for sure.
Chris?
For me, I think I'm just gonna bounce back to those Phoenix Suns. But also not to say I was not also very, very impressed with the Charlotte Hornets too as well. As to what Tobias said, I was excited to watch Charlotte Hornets games, and but yeah, just those Suns just coming out so hot and just pushing right up until the very end just to keep that top spot. Super surprising, just because you're saying 2-3 years ago it was fucking Suns. And now it's oh shit, it's the Suns. And I know you want to attest a lot of that to Chris Paul, all that stuff. But I feel even if they didn't have Chris Paul, I think they still would have made the big push they did. Because Chris Paul, great veteran, great player presence, a great floor general, stuff like that, out there on the floor. But it's I feel they still kind of have that presence there with Devin Booker. And Devin Booker has just been great all year. He was phenomenal in their game against the Lakers, outscoring both AD and LeBron combined, which you shouldn't be fucking doing. So, give you a little head shake, LeBron. Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I like that pick. I do want to say the Phoenix Suns definitely. The Chris Paul addition was just a missing piece for them. So I do think even if they didn't have Chris Paul, they would have still made some improvements. For me, I'm going with the Knicks. Now, you guys bring up Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in any disrespect. To me, they're not any different than the Sacramento Kings from 2 years ago. The Kings 2 years ago, they were an exciting team. They were almost made the playoffs. They were in the playoffs race right up until the last second. And they missed out. And since then, we haven't seen them perform. The Hornets, if they made the playoffs, yeah, I would have probably picked them. But for me, I'm going with the team that made the fourth seed in the East. Now, you can say the Eastern Conference, you can say this and the other, but this team was a bottom 3 seed last year and has been a trash team for the past 5 years and was able to make it to a top 4 seed in the East. So I'm going with the Knicks. They've made great improvements. I'm excited.
Sivash, I want to make a wager with you.
What's up?
I don't know if you're down because it's not even something that you proposed, but it's something that I thought of in your.
I think I know where you're going.
What do you think I'm?
You gotta make a wager. They're gonna make the playoffs next year.
I would like to wager you that the Charlotte Hornets are, and you might be like, "Fuck no," but because you would understand, but Charlotte Hornets will make the playoffs before the Sacramento Kings do.
Yeah, no. The Kings, come on.
See,
No,
but that's what I'm saying. I have more
comparison-
faith in the Charlotte Hornets.
I agree. I have more faith in the Hornets too, but again, I have to see them prove themselves. Look,
Fair
LaMelo
enough.
had a
Fair
great
enough.
season. That team had a great season, but so did the Kings that year. Everywhere you looked at the Kings and said, "Oh, Fox is ready. Buddy Hield is ready." Bogdanovich was on that team at the time. They said Bogdanovich is a great piece, but then it just didn't turn out the same the next year. So, and again, it was a fluke. So I don't want to say the Hornets are a fluke. I just want to see them perform next year,
Yeah.
so I can give them that credit.
Before we get into the next award, which just kind of has to do, it's not my pick, but it kind of has to do with the next award that we're going to give out. I do want to say I have it on record on Twitter. I have it on record in text messages. I have it on record in Clubhouse. By the end of his career, I believe that LaMelo Ball will win an MVP.
Sure.
It just does everything. So, anyways, let's move on to the next award. Sivash?
The next award goes hand in hand with our last award, the most surprising player of this past season. Again, the expectation you had of a player, maybe some players you didn't even have expectations for them, and they just came out and did something you weren't even thinking about. And some other players, maybe your expectation dropped from last season, but this season they went up back to where they were playing at before. So I'm gonna hit it to Chris this time. Who was your most surprised player this year?
Now, if we're talking most surprising player of me being genuinely surprised
Don't
because
do
you
it.
had all the hype around him coming in, and this man was just an absolute big bag of dog shit.
I don't know where he's going.
Aaron Baines. Fuck that guy. But if we're gonna go actually, wow, this guy played great. He was amazing. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna let if one of you two wants to go first. I just need to think on it like a tiny, tiny bit.
I can go first.
But yeah, but my thing for most shocking piece of shit disappointment. Fucking Baines.
We might have to make it an award. The most piece of shit.
And
Alright.
the dog shit award goes
The
to
dog shit award. Yeah, I like that name. I'm going with. This is difficult. I had a few names that I was thinking about. I think one of them is Russell Westbrook. I do think the expectations for him were dropping because of his last season. Another guy I do want to give credit to is Joel Embiid. I don't think he had a great season last season, but this season he came out and played like MVP. So between those two, I'll go with one or the other. It doesn't really. I'll go with Joel Embiid just because of the young piece. He came out and I don't think anybody didn't have him as MVP at the start of the season up until he got injured. And that injury really affected him. I really think if he didn't get injured, he would have won the MVP award. So that's my pick for the most surprising player of the year. Tobias?
Most surprising player of the year. I think of two specific games, but a player that I would have looked at giving him the most improved had the consistency kept up. He did improve from his stats, kind of in a shitty organization, which is unfortunate. But it's Colin Sexton. You know my mentality. I love that dog mentality when it comes to the players. So Colin Sexton definitely has that with his little dangly hair string that makes me want to cut it off every single time I see it. But I think the two games I think about are when he played against the Brooklyn Nets. And he locked them down. And the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Brooklyn Nets both times in those games that I'm thinking of. So that was earlier on in the season. But, yeah, man, I got to give it to Colin Sexton. I don't think he is a superstar potential player, but I think he's definitely one of those all-star caliber players that's going to be a great impact for a team for many years to come. So Colin Sexton's my pick.
Yeah, he has that coming to America ponytail.
Yeah.
A little rat tail.
Yeah, little rat tail, yeah. Chris, what you got for us?
Fuck a little rat tail. You know what? I'm going to go with like the kind of obvious answer. And when this player was drafted and the league started, I will not lie, I was a hater.
You wanted him to fail.
I wanted this man to fail. I wanted this man to be like, this man was all hype. This man was not built for this. This man does not belong here, and he will ride the pine for as long as he is here.
LB.
It's gonna be, LB, LaMelo Ball. He actually shocked me. He shocked me in a, super pause. But, he shocked me in a way that was crazy.
Yo, what?
I'm the fucking funniest guy in the room.
Hey, man, get to your pick, bro.
My pick. Sorry, man. I'm just too funny. My own jokes kill me.
All right.
But yeah, it's gonna be LaMelo Ball. Just because, again, just watching him play, just that tenacity, going out there, going and getting it, and like you said, like you saw those dips when you were talking about in the clubhouse there. Like when this guy was out, the Hornets were kind of down and out without him too. Again, shout out to clubhouse. But LaMelo Ball is showing that like. He's that fucking guy, and he was built for this. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting you, Mr. Ball.
Damn, you doubted the balls?
So, yeah, exactly. So, Steve Ash, unless you have another award, I also have a award. Okay, go ahead.
Now, I don't know. We haven't talked about this, so your award might coincide with mine. But I was thinking about this. Let's have a new award: the Dog of the Year.
Okay.
Right?
I like
right?
it.
There you go.
I like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who do you think was the dog this year? Who gave you that feeling of this guy just picked the team up and carried them and stopped everything on his own? Even if it was one or two performances, even if you just had that feeling about the guy. Now, you brought up a great example. Colin Sexton in that Nets game. He was the dog. Like, I was watching that game, I was like, man, this guy is carrying the team. He came up the court every time and shot the ball and made it.
So if I had to describe to the listeners and to the viewers what I think of when I think of the dog mentality and a dog moment, when you're listening to like, especially like some rap music and like you hear like an unreal beat or like a dirty verse and you start making that like stank face.
Yeah.
When you're watching a game and you make the like, what the fuck is this guy doing? That's what I mean from that dog mentality. We talk about a couple of my favorite players, Pat Bev and those black Air Force Ones. No. He's got that dog mentality. Chris Paul can have that dog mentality. Colin Sexton can have that dog mentality. So that, just for the listeners, to try to quantify what the award means. That's what it is. But I'm going to have to think about it. So if someone wants to take the floor and give their pick.
I don't even really know.
I can get started because I did just drop this on you guys, and maybe I should give you guys some time to think about this. I'm gonna go with a name that it might not seem like it, but I really think that's this.
Wait, what did you say?
What?
Did you say it may not seem like it?
I said I'm gonna say a name, but it may not seem like it. That this guy has a dog in him. Can I finish? You good?
Okay, no, because for a second I thought you were gonna say like in my nuts, like, yo, this guy is
what?
That is what I heard. I heard in my nuts. I feel like, so you feel so strongly about it that you feel it in your nuts. See about it. This man was a dog. I'm like, yo, that's a lot.
Bro, this is a family show.
Yeah, bro. This is supposed to be a Disney Channel. What are we doing?
Bro, I'm sorry. That is what I heard.
He's talking about walnuts. He's talking about walnuts.
Why I had to say, whoa. Take it back a second.
All right.
But anyways, go ahead. You feel it in your soul. You might even feel it in your nose. Who is your dog, bro?
Chris, who have you ever heard that said, in my nuts, I can feel that this person's a dog?
All the time.
I might
All
be
the
saying that now,
time.
though.
That is not a fucking new saying. So
I've
many
never
people
heard that.
they might not say I can feel it in my nuts, but some people are like, yo, I can feel it in my loins. I can blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but no, you're nuts.
The loins is different than nuts.
Yeah, bro. Where are
Loins,
you
nuts.
looking at?
That's all the same area, brother.
Hey,
It's all
bro.
the same
I don't know,
area.
man. That's at least a few inches away. Pause.
I'm just saying, dog. But anyway,
this whole conversation. Okay. We're gonna reset it. I might edit this out. I might keep it. I don't know how I
no,
feel.
why are you gonna edit that out?
Depending on the hour I'm editing, this might stay in, this might not. But when we look at this award, the Dog of the Year award, this player, although it may not seem like it, to me, he has a dog mentality, and you might not see it in his play because you might not see his play as that kind of player. But to me, Steph Curry was a Dog of the Year. This guy picked his team up and just fucking carried them. This guy dropped 40s. Man, some of the shots this guy hit this year just made me go, God damn. That shot.
I just laughed.
You guys remember the Suns and Lakers game a few nights ago, right? At the halftime, before the halftime, he hit the shot over 3 people.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, he got it. Yeah. This guy has that dog in him, and there was a point at the start of the season that people were like, "Oh, he's gonna get guarded differently because he can't really score properly because there's no other teammates." This guy went on like an 11, 12 game streak of scoring 30 plus. And he just was going crazy, and there was no stopping him. So that's my winner of the Dog of the Year. Chris, who do you feel in your nuts that won this award?
Yeah, honestly, thinking about it, I 100% agree with you, Siavash. If can't give MVP to Steph Curry, he can take our award. We'll fly him out to wherever, give him the award, Dog of the Year. Because, yeah, like you said, this guy said, fuck it. I am just going to tighten my bootstraps. I am putting this team on my back. And I am doing whatever I can to get this team wins. And if that means I got to go out there and drop 30 points a night every single night for this entire season, that's what I'm going to do. And this man did it. This man was sick. Yeah, like you're saying, when this guy hitting these crazy, incredible shots, like, how are you going to take a step? You're on your way to half court, and you are calling for the ball because you know you are going to pull it the second you step over half court.
Crazy.
And it's like you're just, yeah, Steph is getting that award for me.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Steph is definitely a deserving guy. I'm just looking up someone, but I couldn't find their stats for the most recent game that they played. But I'm going to give you 2 guys. One is more of a recency bias in a vacuum. One game that I watched, really the only game I watched of their team all year. But over the whole year is Russell Westbrook. And it's not a surprise, dude. This guy is a dog. Like, he's just... Dude, I love when he goes out there and he's just so mad at everyone. Like, he's not your friend, bro. I'm trying to win a basketball game. And, Russell Westbrook, everywhere this man goes, every single organization, the narrative is always, oh, Russell Westbrook's a bad teammate. People don't like Russell Westbrook because that's why people keep leaving him. And, Bradley Beal and him, I love that duo. The last game that they played against the Philadelphia 76ers, obviously Russ and Embiid have a bit of a beef, and you saw Bradley Beal getting right in. Bradley Beal's like doing this to every single time that Joel Embiid gets the ball, and like he was kind of riding with his guy. But when I'm talking about in a vacuum, one game that I watched most recently, Russell Westbrook 2.0. Russell Westbrook light, I think a guy that maybe has a bit more shooting skill than Russ. John Morant, bro. Oh my God, that fourth quarter against the Jazz. Oh my God. And then when they were playing for the 8th seed, right? Like, he was a dog, dude. Oh my God. I was like, this guy is just too good. So he kind of went ISO a bit, took it in. He wasn't really shooting, but he was taking it into the paint, and he was doing some acrobatics in the air. But yeah, John Morant and Russell Westbrook are my 2 dogs of the year awards.
Deserving.
Those points there to lock in that win against the Warriors, man. He's back with the flex and the
He's like,
I'm that fucking
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh
It's
man,
like,
like
yo, let's
that
go.
gets me hype. That gets me hype, especially when you hear the mouth and like, I do this, I do this,
Yeah.
and I was like, fuck, this man does.
That's where I hop on
Mhm.
NBA.com and I buy a John Moran jersey. Like if I see that shit, that's what makes me want to buy like your jersey. I'm like, yo, okay, bro,
Yeah.
that's it. You're the guy. Okay, so maybe a bit of a troll. You know, I always gotta troll one of you
I
each
know.
episode. At least try. It's not you, Sivash. So you're in the clear, bro.
Damn.
What am I getting trolled for?
Dunk of the Year award.
Oh.
I'll go first. It is Anthony
Jimmy.
Edwards on the Raptors. I don't think there's any other choices.
Chris!
If we could play this segment. Chris,
I don't
do you
know.
remember the dunk when Anthony Edwards, he caught the ball on the
yeah.
baseline. He did a pump fake and then he drove and dunked on that guy. And what's his guy?
Yuta.
Exactly.
Yuta Watanabe.
Irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. His name's Watanabe.
He won't be in the league anymore, bro. Anthony Edwards put him in a body bag.
What do you mean? After that thing, Watanabe came back and he was performing. He was performing well. He was doing things. He was
I
shooting
don't even know.
everything. Bro, like you guys are crazy.
The second half of that game was titled
Everybody
Dazed and
gets
Confused.
posted.
Dazed and confused.
Crazy. Post happen.
Yeah, it happens.
It is
Like
what
just
it is.
people, but then they're out of the league.
Yeah.
You say he
And bro, that was not a poster, bro. Like
that was a
When
murder.
When he's back next year, don't worry.
No, he's not gonna be. He say he was shooting more at the second half. It's because he's like, fuck. If I don't make a shot, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying second half. I said for like the rest of the season, this guy picked it up.
Sure.
This guy was doing great.
His agent called him after the game, like, "Hey man, you got to show out, my brother."
Hey, it's whatever, bro. That's
He was getting
in the league, and none of us are.
he was
in the league.
he was
Well,
getting
I'm
looks
saying.
to be a coffin model after that game.
Oh
Dude,
my god, bro!
yeah,
You look like a
I get it,
mattress.
I get it.
The way Anthony Edwards dropped on him, it's like testing a mattress.
One credit I do want to give, we've talked about this team a couple times. Chris.
Because it's not having.
We talked about this team a couple times. The Charlotte Hornets, Miles Bridges had a massive dunk this year too. He came from about the elbow, I think, and then just drove in. I don't even know who was underneath there. I think everyone decided maybe we were going to get it out of the way, but yeah, that was a massive dunk as well.
I can't think of any other dunks. Maybe.
Those two are the ones that stick out for me for sure. But yeah,
Embiid.
that was just an award I wanted to bring up, just because I know that one was very impactful when we talked about the Rookie of the Year award, and I figured that kind of slid in perfectly to troll one of the boys.
I'm watching Dunk of the Year. The thumbnail on the first video is Anthony Edwards on Watanabe or whatever the guy's name is. Yeah, no.
Yeah, sign language.
Sign language.
Yeah. Okay, so do we have any other awards? Any other Lob It Up official awards?
Can't think of it.
In the
Chris, do you have
books,
any ideas? Anything? Good. Can we?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I was thinking about the worst coach of the year,
Okay.
and maybe like the most disappointing team of the year. But I don't know. Because most disappointing team, I could make a case for the what do you call it? The Pelicans,
For sure.
right?
High expectations, didn't succeed.
I think they have a solid case for being very disappointing. I do think there's going to be some changes coming, even though they did trade away. I mean, the trade with Drew Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
How about this? I just thought of this. Trade of the year. What do you guys think about that?
Okay.
And again, we're kind of
Trade
doing
of
this
the
on the air. We're just brainstorming on the air because it's our first one. Hopefully, we can just make sure which ones we're going to have on this for next year.
Yeah, off the top of my head, two guys come to thought. First one's Derrick Rose. The New York Knicks getting Derrick Rose from the Detroit Pistons. D-Rose obviously spent some time in New York City before, but I think this time was much more impactful. They look to be a great squad. He's got Tom Thibodeau there with him. So that was a great impact. That was one that we saw throughout the whole season. One that, and this is just me being biased, but one that I think is going to be beneficial or should be beneficial. I've seen, them reap the rewards of it so far, is Rondo going to the Clippers. Big fan of Rajon Rondo. He's been a great impact for them. That was something that they desperately needed last year. And this guy, playoff Rondo, bro, he's hitting threes. He's not missing. Like, it's so weird. But Derrick Rose for sure is my first thought for trade of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only player that's coming to mind, really, for me as well.
I'm surprised.
Or maybe even like Gary Trent Jr. Looking him up. No, because I remember when we got him, I was my first thing, I was looking him up. I was looking at his stats, I was looking at his stuff, and I was just who the fuck is this guy? And
nice.
You know what? I just think he's just had a better opportunity to play, and obviously more minutes and stuff like that. Playing on the Raptors, so you actually get to see who this guy was, Gary Trent. But other than that, though, I'm gonna have to probably go Derrick Rose.
No, that trade was very impactful right off the bat because he came out just dropping 30s and 40s as soon as he got traded to the Raptors.
I even like Norman on
Blazers.
The Trail.
The Blazers.
Yeah, he played.
He fits well.
And he fits very well into that system, and he is doing the things that I think the Trailblazers need done for them. So yeah. It's a fucking win-win, I guess.
I agree. It was a good trade.
That's the best when those trades happen.
Yeah. It was good for both sides. Yeah, I'm surprised this hasn't been mentioned. James Harden trade.
Oh wow! To be honest with you, that was so early on. I actually forgot that was even this season.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, James Harden. I have been quoted as saying, and I got some flack from my roommate the other day who's didn't really understand why I was saying it, but I think James Harden is the most impactful player on that Brooklyn Nets team.
100%.
Yes, when you look at the players individually, Kevin Durant, obviously, he's one of the best players in the league. But I think to make that machine work well and at its highest peak, I think James Harden is that one piece.
I agree. Yeah. To me, James Harden trade might have won them a championship. We will see how they're going to play. They had a really good game against Celtics. But yeah, that to me is probably the trade of the year. On the other side, I do think the Magic also had a trade of the year. The way they just went about the trade deadline, and they just killed the Bulls with that trade, with the Vucevic trade. Very smart move on the Magic side to get our first round pick. So now they have 2 top 10 picks. So shout out to the Magic for actually making a good move once in the past 10 years. It's fucking over my team, that dumbass team, dying to get into the 10th seed. Fuck that shit. I'm pissed. All right, bro.
All right, so there you have it. Those were the Lob It Up Awards combined with the NBA Official Awards. Let us know what you thought of our picks. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and leave a like on the Spotify and Apple Podcast page. Until next time, peace.